it's really limited because it's hard to retain energy collected during the day. And obviously, solar panels aren't collecting energy at nighttime when people are actually coming home from work and using energy. So it's not something we could rely on. It's just really not reliable, and we need to turn something that is much more consistent. Some reasons that people are reluctant to switch to nuclear energy is because fossil fuels are really cheap right now, and compared to nuclear energy, the cost of just constructing a plant is really, really expensive. Even though they pay off because it's really efficient source of energy, it takes a couple of years to pay itself off. An article from Grewly and Stuhlberg states that they can cost upwards of $15 billion, depending on the model. So, and it also, another reason that people are reluctant to switch to nuclear energy is because of the stigma it has. Just the word nuclear kind of scares people. The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency also believes that the stigma is just, especially with older generations, the stigma is just like, it scares people. We're drilled like nuclear weapons. They dissociate the two words, even though nuclear energy is one of the safest forms. A solution to this issue would be nuclear energy. It has very little carbon emissions, even relative to like solar and wind power. The only hazardous waste it really creates are the spent irradiated fuel rods. They dispose of these, however, by putting them in pools for them to cool down over a time period. It takes a couple of years, but then they place it in like a casket and bury it underground. The only concern is that it could contaminate water sources, but you can just place them strategically so they don't get in the aquifers.
So like Sawyer was saying, the solution to this problem is to switch to nuclear energy, as it produces almost no greenhouse gas emissions. And this graph shows that with the very small bar compared to what we're using now. In addition to having no emissions or very few, once you get past the upfront cost of building a power plant, it is cheaper to produce energy using nuclear energy than using fossil fuels. And that's measured using mils, which is 1,000th of a US dollar per kilowatt of hour of energy. And according to scientist Dabarashi's Sen, nuclear energy takes 24.38 mils per kilowatt compared to 35.41 for fossil fuels. So that's a pretty significant difference. It's about like 30% more effective, which saves money and shows that it's more efficient. And while we're on the topic of efficiency, nuclear energy it produces a lot more energy than burning fossil fuels or coal or natural gas. And that's described using capacity factors, which according to the International Energy Services Group, wind uses a capacity factor of 32%, natural gas 50%, coal 59%, and then nuclear energy with 92%. That 92% is very significant because it's only increasing, and it blows the other energy sources out of the water. So how do we get to the point where we can actually rely mostly on fossil fuels or nuclear energy? We have to overcome the stigma that a lot of people have, shown by the protester, and that usually comes from ignorance or looking at historical accidents in an overstated way, as the nuclear accidents such as Chernobyl have been overstated. If you compare them to other industrial accidents, such as the 38,000 people who died and thousands others sickened in India when 40 tons of methyl isocyanate was leaked from a pesticide plant, or you compare it to the 26,000 who died in China when a hydroelectric dam bursts. So Yale looked at these figures and they quantified them in deaths per gigawatt of energy produced. And a gigawatt is a lot of energy. A lightning bolt has about 1.2 gigawatts of energy in it. And nuclear energy came in with a value of 0.86 deaths per gigawatt of energy, which is 9 times lower than natural gas and 47 times lower than hydroelectric dams. So in conclusion, our methods currently for producing energy really are not that efficient, and they're damaging to the environment with carbon emissions and greenhouse gases. Our solution to this problem is to rely on nuclear energy, which produces almost no greenhouse gas emissions. It'll be beneficial for the environment and cheaper for us, more efficient, just a better way to produce energy. And to do that, we need to overcome the stigma, and I believe that nuclear energy is the future to solve our current energy crisis.